Hi, my name is Lucy Quist. I'm a chartered electrical and electronic engineer. My career spans the automotive, telecommunications and financial services industries. Most people in Ghana know me as the first Ghanaian woman to lead a multinational telecommunications company as the former CEO of Airtel. In 2022, I was crowned the Blisco Ambassador. I'm a Christian woman and my faith really matters in all that I do. I'm a wife and the mother to some awesome human beings that I get to spend my life with. I'm the author of the book, The Bold New Normal, and the convener of the Bold New Normal Conference. I am absolutely passionate about what I call the Bold New Normal. I believe that as Ghanaians and as Africans, we need to create completely new outcomes for ourselves. But creating outcomes isn't based on talk. And I know that my life depicts and epitomizes all that is the bold new normal. You know, when I look back, a number of stories come to mind. One of those stories is what I call my 15-year story, and I can break my life up into so many different chunks. But the 15-year story was a commitment I made, a goal that I set out for myself over a 15-year time frame. I remember so well, I was a young school leaver, and when I say school leaver, literally out of secondary school. And I found myself fortunately in the UK to study, to go to university and build my career. But as I arrived in the UK in the year that I would turn 20, I said to myself, you know what, in 15 years from now, I would like to be back home in Ghana working. And that vision, that goal, became a driver for me over the next 15 years. In fact, what happened over the next 15 years was several twists and turns. You know, unfortunately, at the outset, I couldn't go to university. Not because I didn't have the grades, but because I couldn't afford to go to university. And so for the first few years, I had to work. It was an extremely frustrating experience for me because I knew I had this dream of what I wanted to achieve. I knew I had the capability to study engineering. I just couldn't afford to be. And so I started working, and I started working in the automotive industry even before I became an engineer. And I tell you what, in those days, I used to go to the resource center after work just to study, to keep my mind fresh and you know, available for future studies to come. And so it's easy to say I'm a chartered electrical and an electronic engineer, but no one knows the story of how it almost didn't happen. After I studied engineering, I stayed in the automotive industry and built my career out as an engineer. And through subsequent years of change and twists and turns, I would go on to become a chartered engineer. I would go on to meet my husband. I would go on to study for an MBA. But that dream of finding myself back in Ghana or the African continent never went away. By the time I got to 2005, I was ready to find that opportunity on the African continent. In fact, it was the year I graduated from my MBA. And I thought it should be straightforward enough. A young Ghanaian woman, engineer, worked many years, lovely MBA. That job should just click and say, oh, come, we're waiting for you. I spent 3 years looking for that job. I spent 3 years. Yes, I was employed. I was working at a firm in the UK, but it took 3 years scouring the whole continent, picking any call that someone said, you know, go and talk to this person. I would be on it. Call someone in South Africa, call someone in Kenya, call someone in Ghana. And over that 3-year period, which was still within my 15-year time frame, I searched, I looked, I worked, I talked to anyone who would listen. And then finally, pretty much unexpectedly, I came to Ghana. And I went to see a lady who was an HR director at a telecommunications company. And I said to her, just give me guidance. Tell me, what should I do? What am I doing wrong? What should I do differently? It was a very fortuitous experience. By this time, it was 2008. I was 14 years into my 15-year plan. Not that I was counting so rigidly, but I was at year 14. And I went to see this lady and she gave me tips, she gave me guidance, and she said to me, you know, these are the things I think you can do, position yourself this way, reach out to companies that way. And I said, thank you very much, and I left. A day or two later, she called me back and she said, you know what? We've just recruited someone who has a similar profile to yours. He's not Ghanaian, he's French Ivorian. We like him because he's bilingual, but I noticed that you're also bilingual, and this young man has stood us up. He didn't show up, he didn't take the job. But you're here now, I'm not promising anything. We have an aptitude test that people need to take. Come into my office, come and quietly take the aptitude test. If you make the grade, I will introduce you to my bosses. So I went in while I was supposed to be on holiday. I took the test and she called me back and said, oh gosh, the aptitude test, the personality typing test, all of the tests, you did brilliantly on them. Send me your CV. That's why we always need to be ready. And I said to my husband, we need to clean up the CV, we need to send it in. I worked with him, we cleaned up the CV, I presented it. Next thing I knew, I was due for an interview. And could you believe that coming on holiday to Ghana, I didn't have any interview ready clothes? So I quickly ran to the shops. I found an outfit that was professional, a suit dress that I could wear to this interview. And I tell you this level of detail because it's really important to make sure that you tick every element of excellent expectation when it's time to really step into your opportunity. Because I said to myself, if I don't get this job, it won't be because I didn't present myself fully and I didn't do all that I could to get the job. Anyway, I came in and the role was for business development in Ghana at Tigo Ghana Limited at the time. I was interviewed by the CEO and subsequently interviewed by his boss, who was the CEO of Tigo in Africa. By the time I finished interviewing with the CEO for Africa, he told the CEO for Ghana that she's not coming to work for you, she's coming to work for me. So what was an application for a Ghana role became an opportunity to work for the company across the African continent. That all happened in May. By July, I was in Ghana, starting my career in the telecommunications industry, 14 years into my 15-year plan. It's so important that we make plans. It's so important that we have goals and visions of the future. It's so important that we take the steps and from a process-driven point of view, go step by step by step to create that future, to achieve those goals and dreams. That is what the bold new normal is about.